Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Not a Dog Nana, who says, me 61 female with my daughter 28 female. She's angry, I don't consider her pets, my grandchildren. My son told me about this website. Daughter in question frequents it as well, so I'm hoping for some insight from a younger crowd. He suggested changing everyone's names for anonymity, so hopefully I keep the aliases straight. I have 3 wonderful children, a son, Michael, 35, and 2 daughters, Anna, 31, and Marnie, 28. All 3 are married to lovely people, and Michael and Anna both have children. I adore my grandchildren, but I want to make clear that I never expected my children to give me grandchildren. I respect each of them and how they choose to live their lives because it's their lives. I realize this might come off as overly defensive, but I had a mother who felt entitled to influence over certain decisions in my life, such as picking the husband I'm now divorced from. That being said, I adore being a grandma. Each of my grandchildren is a blessing, and I'm so very proud of every single one of them. I'm the grandma who drives everybody crazy, taking a million pictures, and I have a couple of dedicated shelves that I'm constantly updating with the latest pictures of my family. Yes, my children have suggested a digital photo frame, but I'm too old-fashioned to give up my old paper copies. Now, onto the issue. Marnie and her husband are child-free, but own 3 large dogs of varying breeds. They paid a lot of money for these dogs from high-quality breeders, and they've gotten the dogs great training. These dogs are obedient, sweet animals who love to be loved, even if they sometimes forget their own size. Hard to share a recliner with 150 pounds of muscle. I do love these dogs and I'm happy to have them over whenever Marnie or her husband come for a visit. Last week, I got a call from Marnie in tears that honestly came as a bit of a shock. Now, I've mentioned the shelves of pictures I have. Apparently at their most recent visit, Marnie's husband scrutinized the photos and realized that while each family has its own shelf, the grandkids get a separate shelf and none of the dogs' photos were on that shelf. To be clear, I do have pictures of the dogs, and I love the dogs, love the dog pictures. But those pictures are only on Marnie's and husband's dedicated shelf. Michael and Anna's families both have their own shelves, and then there's an additional shelf just featuring pictures of my grandchildren, all school photos and pictures from formal dances, games, recitals. Marnie told me that she has heard that I do not have pictures of her dogs on the grandchildren shelf because she said they are my children and she feels I do not value her or her family as much as Michael and Anna. This is just not true, and I admit I got a little defensive out of shock. I pointed out that I spend equal amounts of time with each of my children and everybody has their own designated call night. She said I'm always going to Michael's daughter's soccer games or Anna's children's dance recitals, and I countered that I also went to Marnie's husband's softball games. I even hosted their league holiday party last year. We argued for about an hour and just kept returning to the dog pictures not being on the same shelf as the grandchildren, and all I could really say was I never considered the dogs as my grandchildren, just beloved family pets. Marnie hung up on me after that, and I felt absolutely horrible because it felt like we were both talking past each other. Michael called me just moments after hanging up because it was his family's designated call night and I'd missed our usual time. I was still upset from the call with Marnie and told him about our conversation, which I should not have done and absolutely regret, and he immediately went off on his sister. He was furious that she was angry with me and offended that she would even suggest her dogs were on the same level as his or Anna's children. I quickly got the sense from his rant that this was a resentment long brewing between the two of them. They didn't really see eye to eye as children, but they've always been friendly to each other in front of me. And Marnie is a great aunt to both Michael's and Anna's children. But he just went absolutely in on his sister, calling her selfish and spoiled and delusional, which I told him was inappropriate and rude and not something I wanted to hear him say about his sister. He said that he and Anna had been putting up with her BS, although he didn't use the abbreviation, for too long, and that he couldn't believe she was trying to drag me into this nonsense. He closed out his rant by saying that comparing her dogs to his children was a fucking insult, and he wouldn't stand for that shit. He then got an earful about swearing at his mother, and by that time, it was far past the children's bedtime. I missed out on catching up with them. All around, not a good night. I tried calling both Marnie and her husband the next day, and got sent straight to voicemail. I assumed it was too early and they needed some more time to cool off, so I just left messages saying I loved them and missed them and hoped that we could talk more about this. I sent a text message on Sunday to Marnie, but she didn't reply. So I waited until today, Marnie's designated call day, to try again, but I got sent straight to voicemail again. Michael and Anna both have tried calling Marnie and her husband, and they've also not gotten through. I feel like an emotional bomb has been dropped on my family, and all I want is to get everyone in a room to talk this out. It's Thanksgiving next week, and I want everyone to feel welcome and happy in my home, but I don't know what to do. Does anyone have any advice or insight to provide in this situation? Now, this just feels like they're one of those stories where it's not about the dog pictures at all. The shelves were just the spark that sent something off in the end. That's been there for a very long time. I mean, the brother's reaction in this, he didn't respond to someone hearing about a random disagreement. He exploded with what sounded like years of resentment about Marnie being selfish, spoiled, and everyone putting up with her bullshit. That didn't come out of nowhere. The commenter said to OP, first thing, this seems rather silly that everyone is all upset about pictures on a shelf. I think maybe everyone should take a step back and realize that this is not worth such upset and discord. I'm getting the sense that Marnie has some emotional issues surrounding the fact that she is childless as compared to her siblings. It also seems that she feels some sense of inferiority to her siblings' families that have kids. I think maybe you should consider opening a conversation regarding that. I'm not entirely sure this is exclusively about the dogs in the pictures. Edit. Is it possible that Marnie and her husband are struggling with infertility or something like that? Or have they made it clear they do not intend on having children? Opie says no. Marnie and her husband have always said they never want to have children. She actually staged a little coming out to me just before they were married to tell me she and her husband were not going to have children. I was fully supportive and honestly not surprised, as she never expressed an interest in children the way Michael and Anna had. And yes, this does seem silly, which leads me to believe it's about much more than the photos. I tried asking Michael if this subject has come up between them before, but he's clammed up. Maybe I should ask Anna. I'd be very upset after all the hullabaloo I've made about wanting them to make their own choices and lives their own lives. If it turned out they'd been insulting and shaming each other behind my back, I thought I raised them better than that. Commenter says, be aware that Marnie may have been giving your son and her sister a tremendous amount of shit about this behind your back, which is why he blew up. I'd be furious if someone tried to insinuate that my mum should love their dog as much as she would love any of my children, and I'm a dog person. OP replies saying, I suspect this might be part of the issue. Michael's alluded to prior fights between them on the issue, although he won't tell me exactly what's been said. One of my grandchildren set up a Facebook account for me that I never use, but I thought about maybe looking at their accounts to see if there are any hints of these past fights, but part of me feels like that's overstepping my bounds. Another commenter says, I'm wondering if there's a deeper issue here. I don't think she logically believes you need to treat her dogs like grandchildren, so I'd personally suspect one of the following. 1. She wants children but can't right now or can't at all, or feels bad that she does not want to. Perhaps it's biological, or perhaps it's her own guilt that she may feel for choosing not to, thinking you may see her as less than. 2. She's always felt overshadowed by her older siblings, and this is the problem she chose to express her need for attention and validation from you over. I think she's wrong in how she's choosing to express her feelings. It's a very strange argument to treat dogs as grandchildren, but obviously there's a part of your family life she feels like she's being robbed of or guilty over, and she needs to work through those issues. I'll try to get to the feelings behind the facade of the dogs as children thing. Opie replies saying, Marnie and her husband got married with the understanding that neither wanted children. She's never expressed a desire to be a mother, and I absolutely respect that. But yes, I'm worried that subconsciously I've given off some feeling that I'm disappointed or upset that she doesn't have children. I'd hate so much to know that I was the cause of this angst, inadvertently or otherwise. I just want each of my children to live the life they want for themselves and not feel they owe me a particular version of that life. I know that I can't expect each of my children to have a perfect relationship with their siblings, but I do wonder now if Marnie is feeling left out in some way, because Michael and Anna share an experience she doesn't have. It breaks my heart to think one of my children might feel less than the other two, simply because she chose a different path in life. Someone asks, has OP attended events for dogs? OP says, I actually have gone to events for the dogs. About 2 years ago, the oldest dog was entered into a local sled pulling competition, and I attended the race. I've also gone to the dog park with all of them, and attended a couple of obedience school graduations. They give the dogs a little graduation cap, and it's adorable. So OP came in with an update at some point later and says, well, I just got off the phone with my middle daughter, Anna, and bless her for dealing with this nonsense when she's trapped at home on bed rest. And I have a much better understanding of the situation. I thought I would share some of that with all of you, since you've been so kind to spare me your time today. Also, I've learned that I have raised quite the trio of potty mouths, and I'm thinking of a swear jar fund for family vacations isn't out of the question. I decided not to text Anna and bring her further into this mess because of the aforementioned bed rest, but little did I know that she had spent most of her morning haranguing both of her siblings for their behavior. This fight apparently spilled over to Facebook and just consisted of the two of them posting statuses about each other but not bothering to actually speak. Anna saw this, knew that I had been brought into the fight, and decided she would end it herself. While I appreciate her efforts, I'm a little annoyed that all of this tension was boiling under the family and that my children apparently felt the need to protect me from their arguments, and then they go and explode the family with a resentment no one bothered to share. I'm also a little upset that Anna felt the need to act as a mediator when Michael and Marnie should have behaved like adults and simply had a discussion. I'm planning some significant one-on-one time with all my children in the near future, just so that we can clear the air and everyone knows that they've been heard. Michael claims that Marnie started it, while Anna says that Michael started it, but regardless, one or two off-color comments from younger, more stubborn and more insecure people about the other's choices has snowballed over the years into this new nonsense. Marnie felt judged for choosing not to have children, and Michael felt disrespected by some disparaging remarks his sister made in the past. Anna has been witness to most of these little spats, and I told her I don't want any more specifics, because it was wrong of them to throw me in the middle of this the way they did, and I'm certainly not going to let myself be put in the middle again. I'm also hoping Anna washes her hands of their fighting, but I know that it's ultimately her choice. My children are good at communicating with me, but less so communicating amongst themselves. Anna's told me to expect a call from both of them this afternoon, after they get dinner together and talk things out. I'm not expecting that everything will be perfectly resolved after one conversation, but I'm glad to know that they can put aside their grievances with each other long enough to try. Anna has also told me, with permission from Marnie, that part of Marnie's blow-up had to do with a fight with her in-laws. They are less willing to accept not having grandchildren from their son. His father is a senior, he is a junior, and they're expecting a third. So that's about where things are left. I'm still upset at both Michael and Marnie, but I'm not really looking for an apology from either of them. I just want them to know that they are loved and respected. I'm sorry if this is all a bit rambling, as Anna had a lot to say. I'm thinking of suggesting the four of us attend a family therapy session after Thanksgiving, just to get everyone on the same page. I'd also like to say thank you to everyone who commented, and there are so many, but a special thanks to those who offered their perspective as child-free people like Marnie. I feel like I have a better idea now of some thoughts and feelings she might be having, whether she realizes it or not, and how we can keep improving our relationship. And yeah, it kind of feels like Marnie feels judged and left out as the only sibling without children, especially with the pressure coming from her in-laws at the same time. And meanwhile, you got Michael, who clearly has unresolved issues about comments she's made over the years about parenting and children, etc. And the shelf was just literally something that they both attached to, and it all blew up based on that. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit and says, am I the arsehole because I, 38 female, don't want to take my stepson 9 on vacation. My husband, 39, and I have been married for 5 years. We have 2 children of our own, both girls aged 5 and 2. I also have a son, 10, from a previous marriage, but I was widowed. My husband's ex is barely involved in his stepson's life at all. They got divorced when stepson was 2, and his ex wanted a fresh start, so my husband did the decent, selfless thing and had complete custody of their son, even though he'd wanted shared custody. I got a bonus at work, and I really wanted to go on vacation with just my family, just once. Oh dear. We've been on family vacations all together lots of times, but just once I want to spend my money going on vacation where I'm not looking after someone else's kid. I want stepson to stay with his mum while we go on vacation. My husband sees my point of view and is okay with it. I don't think I'm being unreasonable at all. My mum found out what I was planning and says I'm being a complete arsehole. These are the reasons she says I could be the arsehole. 1, my mum says that if stepson's mum isn't properly involved in his life, I should be even more involved in his life to compensate. I think this is a completely unfair expectation. 2, she also says that I'm being a hypocrite taking my son. But I think that's totally different because my son doesn't have another parent. I'm all he's got. If stepson's mum won't take him just for once, then obviously he'll come on vacation with us. But I don't think I'm the arsehole to ask if I can have a vacation with my own family just one time. It's not like I hate stepson or something. He's a nice kid. He's just not mine. Am I the arsehole? Oh my word, we've stumbled upon a gaping arsehole. I'm not even married to this woman and I want a divorce, so the way she talks about this little boy is just awful. My family, someone else's kid. You married his father 5 years ago, and I'm getting onto him in a minute, don't worry about that. You helped raise him through most of his childhood. If all of this time you see him as an outsider, you had no business becoming a stepmother in the first place. And the husband is absolutely pathetic too. Your child's own mother already abandoned him for a fresh start, and now you're sitting there nodding along while your wife openly says she wants a vacation without him because he's not really hers. Father of the fucking year right there. Absolutely breaks my heart for that poor kid, surrounded by adults who keep reminding him he's unwanted. And trust me, the amount of stories I've read, children absolutely notice when they're loved differently from the, air quotes, real kids, are absolutely disgusting. A commenter asked for info. They said, if my math is right, you and your husband got married when stepson was 4? What kind of relationship does stepson have with you versus his bio mum? Opie says yes, he was 4, and as I said, he barely sees his bio mum. I'm not sure what point you're making. A commenter quotes OP saying, just my family just once, and then says your husband's son is your family, and you better not ever let that kid hear you say otherwise. Jesus Christ. Quotes again saying I'm not looking after someone else's kid, and then says, homie, that ship fucking sailed when you married a man with a child. Quotes one more time saying, I don't think I'm the arsehole to ask if I can have a vacation with my own family just one time, and then says, wanting a vacation with your family is fine. Deciding that your stepson doesn't count as family is fucked up beyond belief and definitely makes you the arsehole. You're the arsehole. A commenter says, you're the arsehole absolutely 100%. You married his father, which means your stepson is part of your family. Quoting, my son doesn't have another parent, then says, lol, technically your stepson doesn't have another parent. He has an incubator/egg donor who doesn't want him. You're going to tell him you don't want him either, and that is a shit thing to do. Little Grogu says you're the arsehole and so is your husband. Your husband isn't just an arsehole but also a horrible father for exposing his son to someone like you. Your 10-year-old shouldn't be allowed to go on this vacation either because he isn't your husband's son. So if stepson misses out, then so should your son. It's only fair if we go off your stupid messed up logic. I feel sorry for this poor kid. I bet he is left out of a lot of things. Toys, treats, food, God knows what else. You honestly disgust me. One more commenter who says, let me see if I can get this through your thick head. Stepson also doesn't have another parent. His mum left and never came back because she wanted freedom and a fresh start from her child that she birthed and was supposed to love and care for no matter what. He doesn't know her. She's effectively a stranger. You're incredibly callous and selfish for even trying to do this. And I didn't sign up for caring for a child that isn't mine. Yes, you did. The moment you married this man. Just like he signed up for being a father to your child who lost a parent. I'll bet your kid's dad would have moved heaven and earth to stay here with your son. Stepson's mum chose to leave him and no longer wanted him. Step up and be a decent human being for the sake of this child. If you didn't want to be his mother, you shouldn't have married his dad. You're the arsehole times 1,000. And that poor kid, he's got no one to fight for him in this world. So OP comes in with their first update a couple of days later and says we definitely won't be going on vacation without stepson. After a couple of hours of replies, I decided to show this to my husband. We sat down and had a really long talk about it. He told me he's never been comfortable with my attitude to stepson, but didn't know how to say it to me before. I don't want to be a bad person. I just never thought of stepchildren being yours. I don't think it would be easy for anyone to accept this level of criticism, but all your replies have shown me I have a lot of work to do. As many of you suggested, and so did my husband, I intend to see a therapist to help me with that. As I said, I don't hate stepson in any way. I've never been deliberately cruel to him. I've always just thought of him as my husband's child, but I realize my mindset needs to change. So I'm going to start working on that. I want my family to be the best it can be, and I need to accept that it includes my stepson. I understand that now, and I'm going to start seeing a therapist to become a better person. We've also talked about maybe having family therapy too. I've also made up with my mum, and she's 100% behind the changes I want to make in my life. It wasn't easy to hear everything you said, but I understand that I needed to hear it. So many months later, OP came in with another update and said, in July 2023, I wrote a post on the Am I the Arsehole subreddit about taking a family vacation without my stepson. I wasn't given permission to post an update to my original post on the subreddit because the replies I got were too heated, and the mods advised me to post an update to my profile instead. When I made my original post, I was told by literally thousands of people that I was the arsehole, and it helped me see how wrong I was and how I've been for the last 5 years. I booked a therapy appointment the following week and started working through my issues. My own father died when I was less than a year old. I don't even remember him. My mother married another man when I was 7, but he left when I was 11 and I never saw him again. It hurt me in a way I'd never processed before. I loved him, he'd been my dad, and suddenly he was just gone. That taught me that step relatives weren't part of your family. They weren't forever. I always thought I was doing better than my ex-stepdad because I provided for my stepson and I stayed in his life. I was better than my ex-stepdad, but I made my stepson feel the way my ex-stepdad made me feel when he left me, and I regret it so much. A little while after I started therapy, we started family therapy too. The therapist helped me explain to my stepson the way I felt about step relatives and why I'd always behaved the way I did. He cried and said he was afraid I just didn't like him, and we had the first proper talk we'd ever had. I told him that wasn't true, and I'd just been a bad step-parent like my ex-stepdad had been to me. My relationship with my stepson is so much better now. We spend time together, just the two of us, and except for this post, I never call him or think of him as my stepson. He's my son. I accept now that he'll always be my son. That unlike my stepdad, he's forever. Even if something happens between me and his dad, he'll still be my son. Most of all, he always called me by my first name, but last Thanksgiving, he asked to start calling me Mum. It made me so happy. I told him that I loved him, and he said he loved me too. Since then, he always just calls me Mum. A lot of people also talked about the ways my husband needed to improve, to be more assertive and protective of his children. He knows that. It's very easy to see the problems when they're presented to you all at once in a Reddit post, but when things happen day to day, it's a lot harder to realize how issues are building up. But he's working hard, like we both are, to try and make our family the happiest it can be. We both know we still have to keep working at this. I'm still in therapy, and we're still having family therapy, but I'm grateful to work at it. I'm grateful to have all my children. It's very hard for me to write this, to think about the way things were before I started therapy. It makes me cry every time I think about it, but I want to thank you, Reddit. I wrote my original post just looking for validation from my own point of view, and I never thought the internet could change my life this way, but it has. I feel like for the first time, we're truly a family. Thank you all. This story was a whole bag of mixed emotions and really hit me hard in some places because I was really angry at the original post because that poor kid had clearly been living with this feeling of being separate from the family for years, treated differently. Whether anyone openly said it or not, kids always know. We've seen it in multiple stories, but then reading the update, especially the part when he broke down crying, that had me in tears, I'm not going to lie, and admitted he thought she didn't like him. That got to me. You can only imagine how long he'd been carrying that feeling around quietly. Young kid carrying that around is absolutely heartbreaking. And then again, at the same time, I was happy seeing OP finally confront where all this came from. The realization that she recreated the exact same thing her own stepdad gave her was heartbreaking, but also really important at the same time. And a lot of people would never get to that level of self-awareness. And the fact that she wasn't defensive or walk away, she went to therapy, she put in the work, involved the family and owned what she done and actually changed. Yet it doesn't change what that kid goes through. And that's where it goes back to sadness for me because that kid's felt like this all this time. So by the end of this story, I'm all over the place emotionally with it because sad for what that little boy went through. Relieved things are finally being acknowledged and going in the right direction. And hopefully this kid now gets to grow up actually feeling fully wanted and loved. That's my hope anyway. How did this story make you feel? Was you mixed about it? Was you still against him at the end? Good on the OP for making those changes. There's a lot of mixed comments on this one at the same time. So really interested to hear your thoughts on the back of this. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.